Hi everyone, and welcome to the Black Girl Finance Pod. I'm your host, Selina Flavius, and today we're going to be reviewing Black Girl Finance Festival. I've got amazing guests with me who attended our day-long festival on the 16th of March, and they're here to just talk about, what they enjoyed about it, any key takeaways, and we're here to just do a review for you. So joining me today, I have Merlin.
Thank you.
I've also got Yuleen.
Hello, everyone.
And I've also got Stephanie.
Hi, everyone.
So ladies, Black Girl Finance was a day-long event and it's designed to empower women when it comes to their finances. Black Girl Finance brings together leading Black women influencers, finance experts and allies in the UK to demystify and explore the nuanced experiences of Black women and their money. And it's to provide useful tools to not just survive financially, but also to thrive. And we host Black Girl Finance in line with International Women's Day so that we make sure that we are celebrating ourselves on that day. And it's also an opportunity to celebrate Women's History Month as well. So that's why we host Black Girl Finance. And it's the second in-person event that we've hosted over the last few years. What I want to ask you all just individually is, what did you enjoy about the festival? And Merlin, if I asked that question to you first.
Okay, I wasn't sure who you were asking first. I think I love the fact there was unity. I got to exchange numbers with various people, the conversation, the content. It just felt like a day of just, I loved every minute of it. I got excited because afterwards I told all my friends about it. So I think, it's something that all of us need to attend and gain more knowledge financially, because it's hard to explain if you're not even there. You need to come and have a day of being educated financially about various aspects, whether it's just, I remember, I can't remember the name of the couple, but we'll come back to it in a minute. When they came on, it was so, it was so moving, their story. You have to be in the room to actually understand what you get out of the day. So I think it's just a very financially educating day, good day to have make new friends and familiarize yourself with your sisters.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that. Thank you so much. And I think the couple you're talking about are Nathan and Sabrina Dennis.
That's it.
Yeah. They are brilliant. They are brilliant. And Yuleen, what would you say you enjoyed most about Black Girl Finance Festival?
So for me, this was the second time I went. So I went last year and I attended this year. So the fact that I've come back shows you how much I enjoyed it the first time. I think it's a really, really, to be honest, it inspired me. The first year I went, I wasn't a qualified financial advisor. The second time I went, it made me want to pursue a way of supporting people even more so. So I think this event is amazing. It's amazing to communicate and to see other Black women doing amazing things as well. The speakers were amazing, and it's a really good place to network. So for me, it was a really positive, and I will probably come every year.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I do have another question for you, Yuleen, because you mentioned about being inspired. I don't know if you were already thinking about taking the journey to become a qualified financial advisor. Before that, I'm sure you were, but one of the things that we really wanted to do with Black Girl Finance is spotlight and highlight that Black women are actually in the industry. So the idea that if you see an example of what you want to be, you're more likely to go and achieve it. So I don't know if that had an impact on you when you attended last year, or if it was something that you were already thinking about pursuing, and then it maybe gave you the push or the encouragement to say, yeah, there are people who are, look like me from my background to do it.
Yeah, so it did. I wasn't really thinking about doing it because I've been doing it in the background for a few years now, but mainly just my personal journey. I've just been sharing my personal journey to get which was getting myself out of debt and then actually buying my property and all the stuff that I done. So that's what I'm doing first. And then once I've done that, after going to your event, that's when I was inspired to actually take the step further and actually become a financial advisor, so I can actually support people through their journey as well as being a financial coach.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's a similar trajectory to myself, you know, getting out of debt and getting better with money, doing all of the things and then feeling like, okay, another driving force was because I grew up in a household that didn't speak about money at all. So I wanted to create that place for Black women to talk about money, as well as for them to see the examples of women within the industry as well. So thank you so, so much for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you very much.
And now, Stephanie, yeah, what did you enjoy about Black Girl Finance Festival?
For me, it was, being part of a community of women who are determined to improve their personal finances. It's the knowledge shared. This information we didn't get at school, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Personal finances or managing your finances play such a key role in everyday life. And this information, well, to a certain extent, is hidden. But now with events such as this, the information has come to light and we can take this information and actually implement it in our lives to improve our lives. Honestly, Selina, the event was amazing. And for me, it was like the key highlight of my year thus far.
I'm blown away. I'm so touched that you said that. I mean, that's the impact that we really want to have, you know. There's lots that goes on behind the scenes in planning events. And because it's a finance event, we're very big on not making it a dry and boring, stuffy finance event as well. That's one of the key drivers for us. So I'm really glad that you found it such a great event, and that is, like you mentioned, it's the highlight thus far. Stephanie, I'll start with you for the next question. Were there any specific speakers that you particularly enjoyed listening to, or their messages, their key messages kind of resonated with you at all?
Yeah, I think for me it was Rose when she
Okay.
spoke about, her mother and her mother, being diagnosed with dementia and the importance of having, a will and a lasting power of attorney in place. In the background, I've already, started doing that for myself. And I've sorted out my mum, but just to have like a real life example
Yeah.
to see why it's so important to have these legal documents, legal instruments in place to protect our loved ones and to protect our finances. It just really, stood out for me.
Amazing. Yeah, I think these conversations around, the less fun part of finance, if we're honest, talking about putting in things in place when things really go wrong, whether that is, losing a loved one or a loved one becomes sick. And yeah, Rose, just to give you some context, if you're listening and you wasn't at the event, Rose was part of our team of sponsors. So she works at Scottish Widows. The event was sponsored by Scottish Widows, so big shout out to them and a big thank you to them for supporting us for the second year in a row. And Rose was from the Scottish Widows team, and she did a keynote speech, and she also had a fireside chat with myself. And she was really open and honest and spoke about having those difficult family conversations around how to, like Stephanie's mentioned, how to put things in place for loved ones. She shared that she was a carer for her mom and her dad. And she also shared that she is a stepmom, and she shared about having some influence there in terms of encouraging her husband to put things in place. Just, if anything was to happen to him, he's got 2 children as well. And she really spoke about the importance of having these conversations as a family so that everyone knows. She mentioned that she has a sister, there's 2 of them, and with her stepson, her husband, like everyone knows the financial setup, whether it's between her sister, herself, and her parents, and her husband as well. Her husband sounded like a real rock star, a really supportive figure in that relationship as well. And then also with the children, everyone understands as they've gotten a bit older, everyone understands exactly what's going on with the finances, whether it's who's part of the will, who gets what in the will. She spoke a lot about having lasting power of attorneys, and putting those things in place for health and also for finances, because you need the 2 separate lasting power of attorneys. So Rose was really, really instrumental in driving that conversation on the day. And I think someone else in the audience mentioned the fact that they were going through a similar thing. Actually, it wasn't in the audience, it was Ernestina, who is also from Scottish Widows. She shared that her grandmother has dementia. So she really resonated with the conversation with Rose. And there were also lots of people who came to me before the session to say that that was the session that they were interested in, being a carer for a loved one. So I think that says to me that it's really obvious that these are issues that people do want to discuss, as well as all of the fun stuff around money, the investing and the saving and, tackling debt. There's also this going on within families and within the community. So we need to have these conversations. So yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. I'm going to go over to Yuleen. Were there any speakers that stood out for you, or any sessions that stood out for you, and why?
So what stood out for me was, I think it's Stock Picker. Am I
Oh
saying it
yes,
right?
Stock Pickers
Yeah,
Academy.
so
So Deborah
exactly, yeah. So for me,
yeah.
it's something I'm interested in. I already invest, but the way he spoke to me just made me feel like he was speaking to me particularly, if that makes sense, and just actually actually start going a bit further, not keeping it so safe, because I do all of the S&P 500. That's where I started.
Yeah,
And I haven't branched out much. I stick with the index funds. I don't go anywhere further. I don't do individuals. So I just felt like he was speaking to me, because it's something I've been wanting to do, and I've just been a little bit too scared to step out of that comfort zone. So for me, that was just the extra push that I need. I started following him straight away on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll be
and
happy.
Thought, let me allow this to motivate me to take that next step in the investment world.
Oh, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, we did ask at the very beginning of the day, what do people really want to talk about? And we got all the attendees to speak amongst themselves, and investing definitely did come up. What I personally liked about Deborah is that, we hear, when we're having conversations about investing, we hear, figures thrown out, 5%, 10%, inflation's at, 4%, and investing, when you invest, you in the S&P 500, for example, on average, you earn around 10% per year. And what he did really, really well was actually provide an actual figure and number of what that 10% could look like in, the next 20 to 30 years if you are investing regularly, which I think is quite different to any other kind of advisors that you might speak to. And I think it's a lesson to those of us who are in the industry, when we are having these conversations about money, not just to be talking in percentage terms, because for a lot of people, when we're dealing with our finances, we're not thinking about it. We don't translate it to percentage terms when it comes to, how much we can earn, when it comes to, maybe if we're earning interest on our bank account, or if we're paying interest on our debts. We're not thinking, okay, I'm paying 10%. We're thinking about the actual numbers. And he was really, really good at, and he said it, let me show you what that 10% actually is. And I think that really makes the difference. And I'm not going to lie, when at the event finished, he was absolutely swarmed by people wanting to follow up with him and get further information about what he does. And that was a really interesting session. He did the session with Funmi, who is or used to be a she works in finance. She's a corporate lawyer by trade, and she now works in finance. She runs Hoops Finance, and she used to specialize in property investing. I'm sure she still does, but she's also branched out to other financial literacy as well. So it was a really good conversation where we spoke about investing in stocks and shares, and we also spoke about investing in property and the benefits thereof. But I'm really glad that you liked that session as well, because it was really, really interesting, like I said, that how Dividend brought that percentage, those numbers to life, which I think makes a real difference in encouraging people to invest, because you understand exactly in monetary value what that looks like for you in the future. Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. So to you, Merlin, what session really stood out for you?
I think all of them did, but I think with me, Nathan and Sabrina, I think they brought the truth to life.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time we ignore those things, and they've actually was so honest, and they told you the reality of what it was for them. And sometimes, we do know somebody who's been through it, but they don't talk about it. So I think Nathan and Sabrina just, it brought some home truths. And also the way they try and relate to budgeting, because some people are mystified about budgeting, but the way they broke it down into the different pots and all that, and just explained it to the audience, I think that was fantastic. Because I think when I came home, I was kind of trying to explain that to my son to say
Yeah.
to him, this is another way of actually, looking at it. So they gave me some tips to actually break it down in a different way to actually explain it to other people about, my nieces and nephews about budgeting.
Yeah,
So
I
think that
loved
was
I love their jar system that they use. And just to explain, Nathan and Sabrina, they're a couple. They spoke really openly around how they have managed their finances together as a couple. And they started the session by holding up, was it a £5 note or £10
yes,
note between
£5
them?
note. The
Yeah,
last £5 note.
yeah, their last £5 note that they had at some stage in their life a few years ago, and how they'd gone from, praying outside the supermarket because they only had that £5 between them, all the way through to that transformation of their relationship with money, of saving money, of investing money, creating an investment account that they got someone else to steward, so they put it away, and they were able to set up a business from that money that they'd kind of put away and forgotten about. But also they spoke about they have a jar system where they clearly set out what percentage of their income goes into which pots each month. They're a Christian couple, so they spoke about having a pot for tithing. They spoke about having a pot for, their bills. They also spoke about how once they've run out of money in a particular pot, they didn't kind of switch money from one pot to the other. They actually hustled, So Sabrina was making cakes, and she would message everyone to say, hey guys, we're doing some baking now. And then they would earn money to meet the shortfall that way.
Yes.
And I think it's such an important lesson, because sometimes, if we do separate our finances into different pots, it's really easy to go, okay, well, there's some in this pot left, I'm just going to transfer into that. And a lot of the times we do have to think about clever ways of making extra income rather than dipping into the other pot. So I really loved their session as well, and I'm glad you liked it too. And their openness and honestness.
Yes.
They've been on a journey. They spoke about having maybe a car repossessed, I believe it was. Bailiffs knocking at the door when they're kind of pregnant with their first baby. That honestness, I think we could all do with that. Like you said, no one really talks about the struggles, the real hardship where someone is knocking on your door to come and to ask you for money.
Yeah.
So I really love their talk as well. I'm just going to go over some of the other talks that we had, and do jump in if you remember anything pertinent from the talk, if you think about anything that came from the talk. So we spoke about how did you feel about the very first talk by Renish Myers around money mindset and kicking us off? Because I feel like she kind of challenged us in a number of different ways. Number one, she shared her story about setting herself apart when she was at university, deciding that she really wanted to get a first-class accounting degree. And she shared the story about going into the lecture room for the first time, sitting with a group of people, and they were just talking amongst themselves. And she thought to herself, no, I need to move. I need to go and sit right at the front, because this is such an important opportunity to me. She understood the value of getting that first class degree in accounting. So she kind of moved herself apart. And I think other speakers on the day spoke around that message, particularly Emmanuel Sucro. He spoke about, sometimes we need new friends, basically. So that was one of the things that I really liked about her session. And then also she asked us number two, like, what is getting in our way of our own goals? So we had to really think about, okay, is there anything blocking us from achieving our own goal? How are we getting in our own way? And then another thing that was really beautiful was she asked us, how can we help each other? So we had to look to the person next to us and ask, how can I help you and support you today in your goals? So I don't know if any of you remember that session or found that session really, really, if there was anything that it made you think about.
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I think what she did was she helped us. So I came to the event by myself. I done that on purpose so I could network. And the person I was sitting next to me also came by herself.
Ah,
So it made us comfortable to talk to each other. We ended up speaking to each other the whole day. And I think because she done what she done at the beginning, that's what helped us be so comfortable to speak with each other. So that was very, very helpful and useful for both of us.
incredible. And she also mentioned about the power of your network is your net worth as well. So hopefully, you know, that connection that you had on the day, that connection that we have in our, you know, we have a Black Girl Finance WhatsApp group, you know, is a real example of that. And it's really brave of you to come, you know, to any event by yourself as well. Sometimes we don't do that enough. Sometimes we're waiting to have that friend to come with us to empower ourselves, but often we have to just take that leap and do it ourselves. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So after Ranish, we had Rose's keynote speech, and Rose spoke about her career, and she mentioned the fact that you know, her journey, how inclusion had played a big part in her career, in her career at I mean, she mentioned other businesses that she was a part of before, but her career, particularly in kind of public speaking, she mentioned that she had seen a docu-film and gone into the office and was raving about this docu-film, and the kind of PR part of the business saw her doing this, and she was able to go on and have a career in kind of public speaking, being on Sky, and having all of these other opportunities based on the fact that she I guess stopped shrinking herself as well, because she mentioned about the fact that in growing up she was taught to kind of not, you know, be as quiet as possible, I guess, or just not draw attention to herself. So I don't know if that kind of is an experience that you've had as well, or if it's resonated with you thinking about your journeys in the workplace at all.
Yeah, for me personally, that really stood out because, you know, especially in this day and age, you know, if you're not visible, you're
Yes.
invisible.
And especially when you say this day and age, you mean with the like hybrid working from home?
Yeah, I've been working from home, and also, you know, social media,
Okay.
and just, you know, putting yourself out there and making yourself known in the marketplace. Because a
Yeah.
number of us have, you know, skills and talents that, you know, yes, we can use for ourselves, but we can also add value to others. And to some extent, some of us can utilize our skills and talents to earn an extra income, you know, or, you know, have additional revenue streams coming in. But if no one knows where you are or how to find you, how are you going to get that extra income? So for me, that really stood out in terms of, you know, putting yourself out there, you know, saying yes to opportunities and, you know, seeing where life will take you, but just, you know, staying in your corner, putting your head down, especially in the workforce. From my experience, it's not, it will not serve you well. And one compliance director at my company, he actually, you know, sat me down and said, Steph, you know, for the first 5 years when I was working here, I just put my head down and I saw individuals who, you know, were not any better than me surpass me. And I had to really question myself, what's going on? And the key thing he mentioned to me was, you know, putting himself out there, you know, on socials, be it our internal intranet and also LinkedIn and networking.
Yeah.
And now he's moved on to get, you know, a senior role in another company. And he said, Steph, I really believe it was because I put myself out there on socials, in terms of him getting his new opportunities. So yeah, that was an amazing aspect that she touched on.
Incredible. And I think it's something that I've heard a lot. I think it's something that I can resonate with within my own working career, joining and just keeping my head down and just getting the job done. Almost, you know, not being seen and realizing that, you know, there are others who are, you know, getting opportunities because they are a bit more out there, a bit more noticeable, maybe doing the socializing a bit outside of work as well. And it's very difficult because if you're potentially, if you've got caring responsibilities, you might not be able to do that. But it's important to think about other ways that you can kind of put yourself out there and brag about the work that you're doing, you know, almost. So Yeah, I really love the fact that she mentioned, and she also mentioned about being parts of different networks. So the Women's Network and the Black Heritage Network as part of her company. So she started to build different communities as well. So I think that was a bit of a message of the whole day, that networking piece and connecting.
Can I just
Anything?
say something about it
Oh yeah,
in relation to
absolutely.
that? I think with Rose, what I think she's taught me, which I can resonate with, is get out on my own way,
Yes.
because I could resonate with it because I suppose when I started my journey inside my own business, I was an introvert. And what I realized, being an introvert is not going to help me make money. So I need
Mhm.
to basically get out there and make money.
Yeah, yeah.
And I need to speak up. So it's taught me, to speak up a lot more and just go out there and get it.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I'm an introvert as well. I think I'm an introvert, but there's moments where I'm an extrovert, ambivert. But yeah, we do have to push ourselves out of our comfort zones, whether that is to, be able to talk about our worth within the business, whether it's to highlight ourselves within the business, um, or to kind of make money. No one will know that you offer a product or service if you're not talking about it. Yeah. So whatever platform you're on. So yeah, and this follows on nicely to the next speakers that we had. We had Benedicta Egbeme and Yinka Ewuola, and they had a session entitled "Cash Flow is Queen." So you're a business owner, Merlin. So we'll start with you. I think they spoke about a number of things. Number one was that visibility piece, and Yinka shared that she'd been visible for the last 4 years on LinkedIn, showing up every single day on LinkedIn, and she's been doing it for the last 4 years, which is fantastic. Yinka also has a TEDx talk as well, so do check that out. And then also Benedicta, she'd gone recently viral. So she's an accountant and she'd gone recently viral, or there was a podcast episode that she was on with the company called YouTube channel called Savvy Wallet. And she was talking about the UK tax system, and their episode has gone viral. I think at the time of the event, it had 450,000 views, which is incredible. And she mentioned the fact that actually that viral moment didn't happen instantly, that she'd been on the scene doing the work for the last 6 years. So it just shows you it takes work. It takes putting yourself out there to achieve kind of business growth and business success. Another thing that they spoke about was the mindset to business. One of the wonderful things that Yinka mentioned was that, because I was asking them, or our host Michelle was asked the question, should we all have our own businesses? Is everyone supposed to be an entrepreneur? And they mentioned that no, not everyone is supposed to be an entrepreneur, but everyone is supposed to have, abundance, and everyone is supposed to have, the ability to earn wealth. So what did you guys think about their session? Was there anything that really resonated with you?
Yeah, I agree with that point. I've had this conversation with my friends in terms of, entrepreneurship versus, your day job. And ultimately, we can't all be entrepreneurs, otherwise, it's not going to be, we won't have any workers, right?
Yes, yeah.
However, I do believe even if you're working a 9 to 5, you should think about other mediums to, build wealth and have those different revenue streams. Be it investing in the stock market or investing in property or crypto or what have you. But yes, I agree. Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, but yeah, get those extra coins in somehow.
Yeah, I think they both spoke about having, the potential of having multiple streams of income. There's nothing wrong with having your 9 to 5 job, but equally, there's nothing wrong with also having, a business on the side that you're doing. And Rose also mentioned that it is possible to be successful in your 9 to 5 with her talk prior to that as well. So I think there's room for both for a lot of us. Yeah, going out there and just thinking of creative ways of making money is a good thing. what did we speak about next? So we spoke about Nathan and Sabrina as well. We spoke about carers. There was a session entitled Financial Strategies for Ambitious Women with Nikita Chu, Ranish Myers, and Ernestina Sarah Mensa. So Ernestina is from Scottish Widows. So again, shout out to our sponsors for Black Girl Finance Fest for the second year in a row. And was there anything from that session that you took away? Nikita, she spoke a lot about not having mum guilt because she's a new mum, and she made everyone chuckle because she said that her son is not feeling any guilt when he wakes her up in the middle of the night for whatever reason. So she says she doesn't feel that mum guilt. She also shared the fact that she was back doing payroll quite soon after having her son. So that was her experience. Ranish on the panel said that she would like to, you know, if when she has her family, to not do that. She'd like to be able to be in a position where she doesn't have to do that. So there were two kind of opposing views. And then I think Ernestina spoke about her experience of working in Abu Dhabi, and then moving on to working at Scottish Widows as well, and how you can still be adventurous and still have your career. You know, you can still pursue your career and take opportunities. So were there any takeaways from that session?
With me, I suppose, when I had children, I worked, didn't have much time off, I suppose, when I had my children. So I can relate to Nikita as well in relation to not having mum guilt, because
Yeah.
you need to find a balance as a parent so that you can enjoy the younger years with your child, but as well as pursuing your career. So
Yeah.
I could have definitely related to that, because I remember, before I had my children, I tried to work twice as hard so that when I had them, I was able to spend a little bit of time. But I remember when I had my son, I think about 3 months later, they wanted me to go back to work. And I actually was quite distraught about the fact of me to go back to work. So
Yeah.
I definitely relate back to that in relation to, at the beginning of thinking, am I going to have mum guilt? Am I not going to have mum guilt? But in the end, it worked out all right. I just reduced my hours so I can have a balance. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. The next session we had was with Emmanuel Osuquo, and he delivered a keynote speech. And if anyone has seen Emmanuel's talk, he's very funny. You know, he's incredible. He's incredible at getting messages across. So like tips, things that we should be doing in a very comedic way. So was there anything that he said that made you kind of pause for thought? I'm sure there were quite a few things that he said.
Yeah, so for me, it was just mainly reminding myself, because I am an introvert and I like tend to just keep myself to myself, but you can't do that when you're trying to start a business. So for him, it just reminded me that actually you need to be around new people. Just your old friends is not, we all know how it gets sometimes when you become a bit more successful. Old people around you don't necessarily support you. So you need to find new people around you that has the same mindset as you, and that you can actually grow with. And I just love I love the way he is anyway. I think he's amazing, and I love the way that he puts things across, because he does it in a way that it just makes you really have to think.
Yeah,
that you just have to think about it, because there's no way that you can just hear what he says and just let it go past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's a brilliant speaker, and I definitely took some stuff away from his talk.
Yeah, incredible. Anybody else? I've got some one-liners that you guys might bring. You might bring them up yourself, but I remember particular things that he said that, you know, had me laughing at the same time, you know, questioning myself. Because he always does that. It makes you think, oh, am I doing this? Am I doing that? But yeah, anybody else?
No, I think his delivery was quite funny, but he was getting the message across. As much as we were laughing, the points he was making, he's like, oh,
Yeah.
is that me?
Yeah.
So he really, he made his point, but in a very clever way that he made his point to us. And he was quite jovial, so he made the session very funny, but he got his message across to us.
Definitely. How about you, Stephanie? Can you think of anything, or what was your
Yeah,
impression of that talk?
Emmanuel is hilarious, but I've been to one of his finance sessions in the past, and it was because of his session that I actually, started looking into wills and lasting power of attorneys and insurance. I was like, goodness. And then I set up a WhatsApp group with my elder sisters, and I said, sisters, we need to do something about this for the family. So yeah, I mean, jokes aside, he really helps me to understand, yeah, be it legal documents or, money mindset or budgeting, things that I need to put in place and able to, improve my financial future. So yeah, really great
Yeah.
session.
Yeah, he did a really great session, like you mentioned, Stephanie, and he went through budgeting, saving, investing, setting up the wills and things like that. He went through, that typical kind of finance workshop, but he delivered it in such a way. He also touched upon, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you hold on to those friendships that maybe aren't serving you because you've known them since primary school. So that's one of his key messages. Sometimes, if we're trying to level up, we might need to have a think about the people who are around us and who are influenced by, how are they influencing us? If they're influencing us to, be good with our finances, or if they're putting pressure on us to, just spend willy-nilly without any consideration for the end result, we should be questioning that. He also spoke about social media. And one of the lines that I remember him saying was, you may have the followers on social media, but if, the bailiffs are coming to your door, you cannot say to them, look, I've got all of these followers. You can't say to them, oh, I've gone viral. Don't come and take my money. So that had me cracking up, because it's so true. These things don't protect us from actual everyday financial, struggles. And a lot of what you see on social media is just the highlight reel. A lot of people do a lot of things to be able to show a particular lifestyle on social media that gives the impression that they are wealthy or they've got money, but actually it's sometimes not the reality. And like I mentioned, he very clearly said, those likes, followers, viral moments aren't going to save you if you've not got your finances in order. So that really made me laugh, but it's a real serious point. Another thing he talks about, he used the analogy of, adding value as being a tree, and money being an apple. So he gave an analogy of that we need to be creating value. So having a single apple, it's okay for the time being, but it's not going to allow you to grow anything, grow value. But if you plant the seeds of that apple and grow a tree, and that tree blossoms and gives you multiple apples, he spoke about focusing on adding value and providing value, whether that is within your own business, whether that is in, with on your investing journey, and building assets. We want to be able to create value. So I thought that was a really great analogy, essentially. So we've spoken about the power of investing, which was the dividend session and funding session. So you've mentioned that earlier, so we won't go back over that. And the final session that we had before we retired for like drinks and music and the drinks reception and more networking was about fintech careers, or not specifically fintech, it was tech careers essentially, and how to also talk about negotiating, I guess, career moves as well as salary. And that was with Rashida, Harry, and Mary. So did anyone take anything away from that session?
Yeah, I did, in terms of adding, well, yeah, if you're going to ask for a pay rise, you need to do a stock check.
Yeah.
Are you doing things above your day job?
Yes.
How are you adding value in an extra, ordinary way? Your organization is just not going to, give you a pay rise and find a budget to give you a pay rise. You need to prove, how you've added value and prove and show your worth. And I think one good way of doing that is having a record of, your achievements, having a record of, those key projects that you've worked on that has really impacted the business strategically, and shouting out about it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you don't do that, all that good work that you have been doing, can just, fall by the wayside. But you need to, have a record of what you're doing, and also shout about it to demonstrate to your, line manager that, this is what I've been doing, which justifies a pay rise. So yeah, that stood out for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that going out there we have to keep a record because no one else is keeping a record. It's probably easier to keep a record of when things go wrong and what we've done, versus keeping a record of everything that we're doing well. And it goes back to that thing of, you know, not just getting on with things. We have to shout about it. We have to make these conversations as easy as possible for us to have when it comes to our yearly review, because often, you know, we're not thinking about, you know, the great projects that we did at the beginning of the year. When it comes to our review at the end of it, we've forgotten it. We're overwhelmed with the day-to-day work. And our bosses aren't often going to be thinking about that. They're probably thinking about the person who is being the loudest, or the most visible in terms of their projects and work. So yeah, I think that was a great takeaway. Was there anything else from anybody else? So one of the things that Mary said was that whenever she goes into an organization, she makes a list of things that she wants to achieve. So she's very strategic about, you know, what her goals are, what she wants to learn as well. She spoke a lot about always learning and always kind of educating yourself when you go into these organizations. Like, who is that person that I maybe should connect with? What is that course that I can do that will allow me to understand what's going on within the workplace better? So I think that's what she said as well. And just when you're new, you can have the tendency to just maybe just accept what's been offered to you in terms of training, whereas she will go above and beyond to figure out, okay, you know, what can I learn, and just really accept that you are a newbie and you want to learn the most. And I think that fed in nicely to what Rashida said, which was that with her current place of work, they made sure that for the first 3 months, there was no pressure of targets. There was no pressure of, you know, hitting the ground running. It was 3 months of pure learning, 3 months of understanding, you know, the products and services, the company. And it just meant that when you're ready to go, you know, you're well clued up beyond, you know, anything that you might be, if there's that additional pressure to start at a workplace and just get things done straight away, just meet targets. So I think that was a key message of hers. And then she also said to join organizations and communities that are willing to train you up as well. That was another key message that she mentioned. And I think that really shows an organization that's going to invest in you. They want you to do well. They're not just trying to fill a spot. They really want you to come in and they really want you to succeed. And I think she was very clear on, you know, making sure that you find those organizations that will do that for you. Another thing, I want to go back to what Rose said, because she did mention that at this time, you know, Black women are a kind of a hot commodity. I don't know if you guys remember her saying that. Yeah, she said Black women are a hot commodity because of organizations trying to fulfill their DE&I, you know, criteria, strategies that they've got in place. And one of the key things that she said, number one, was, you know, it's okay to say no. It's okay to turn down those opportunities that don't fit with your values or don't feel right. She mentioned that. And then there was another thing that she mentioned, which has gone out of my head, but I'll try and remember it at another time. But yeah, you know, Black women are kind of hot property at the moment, but it's really important to make sure it aligns with our values, our goals when it comes to going into the workplace, which I think is an important message. She also mentioned, and it was in my head and I've forgotten it again. But yeah, she also mentioned something else, which will come back to me. But were there any final question from me, ladies? Was there anything that you thought, okay, after the event, this is what I must go away and do? Was there anything that you've decided after being at the festival that you're going to go and work on? And I'd love to hear what that is, if you feel okay to share.
With me, I think there were the two main things was, well, three. I update my will. I have a will, but I hadn't updated it. So it reminded me I needed to do that. It reminded me of my lasting power of attorney. I've got one, but I needed to update mine for my business. So I need to do that. because it's good to have both in place. And also when I can't remember his name, where he talked about investing and the trading 212 app, I immediately did. I've set that up, so I'm going to look more into that. So yes, it's prompted me to do quite a few things, but also because of my role as a business owner, as an accountant, what I have done now is write a list of things I remind my clients about, because those have contacted me now. It's like, so I question them now. Have you done this? Because it's me also looking after them as well. So that's another thing I've taken out of it.
I really love that. I love the personal stuff for yourself, but I love that it's making you think about how you can best serve your clients and take care of them in a, you know, a very holistic way, rather than just, you know, this is the piece of work that you've you know, got me to do for you as an accountant. But I love that. That's great. That's great to hear for me as, you know, the person that's put on this event. So thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else?
Yeah, so for me, it was, my mom's lasting power of attorney has been sitting in my bag to post for about a week.
Okay.
So it just reminded me to take it out of my bag and actually post it.
Yeah.
Secondly, go more in depth with the investing, because it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And when it comes to networking as well, just be better at it. I get really shy. I don't really like speaking to new people, but because of the business that I've started now, I have to. So it was a nice reminder, and to just push my business more.
Amazing. I love that. I love that you're going to get that done, the lasting power of attorney. Take it out of your handbag, put it, post it, get that sent off, which is so important. One of the things that Rose says, that, you know, when you need it, it's too late. Do you know what I mean? When something happens when you need it, it's too late. So definitely need to get these things in place and get them done. And then also just the networking piece. And, you know, we included a lot of time to network. A lot of our speakers encouraged everyone to network. And it's so valuable. I wouldn't have met those speakers if I hadn't gone out and networked in various different ways, whether it's talking at other events, whether it's you know, just commenting on social media. You know, it's all powerful. It's all part of that same process, and it creates opportunities, definitely. So I'd encourage you to network, definitely. And Stephanie, how about yourself?
So as we're talking now, my will and lasting the power of attorney is on my dining table. So I said to myself this Saturday, I need to proofread it and make sure I'm happy with it, and then get it out in the post. A second thing that I'm working on is my emergency fund, which I'm trying to get to ×6 my fixed expenses. I think it's around ×3 now. So I just want to uplift my emergency fund, and then I'll feel more comfortable to start investing. And the final thing is to put myself out there. I just feel for a long time I've been hiding. I've got so much to offer, you know, beyond just my 9 till 5. So I'm keen to just put myself out there a bit more and say yes to opportunities. Hence, you know, when you mentioned, you know, coming on the podcast, I put my hand up. I said, just say yes.
I love it. Yep.
To say yes more.
I love that. And I think one of the things that we were encouraged to do was actually take action, not just taking the information, which is great, and, you know, park it for another time, but actually set dates, set deadlines, and actually do something, take those action steps. I think that was definitely a key message. So I just want to say a massive big thank you for joining us at Black Girl Finance Festival. A massive big thank you for joining us on the podcast today and sharing your experiences. And yeah, I mean, a lot of you are part of the Black Girl Finance community, as part of our WhatsApp group as well. And it's just incredible sharing this financial journey with you all. The amount of information we learn together as being part of the group, whether it's at the event or whether it's, you know, on the group that we've created for ourselves, and the community that we've created for ourselves, is invaluable. I see everyone swapping messages and swapping information as well, which is brilliant. So I just want to say a massive big thank you for taking part in this conversation today.
Selina, and I would just like to say thank you for putting on such a lovely event, because it's amazing, and I think you know, we'll probably be able to invite more people for next year. I will talk about it because I've got loads of groups I belong to, that I will spread the message. And I think also younger people, because I think I looked at the age group and I'm thinking, I wish they were like younger people just starting off, like when they first start working, that
Yeah.
knowledge
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been, and don't wait till you like in your 30s to start looking at it. If you're from your first job, if you had that knowledge that was given at that conference,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, that would have been amazing if we can catch those individuals at that age when they first start working, to get them to start planning, budgeting, doing all those things, all of that knowledge that was all in that 1 day festival. I would love it for the younger people to have that knowledge,
Yeah.
because that will make them untouchable.
It will. It definitely will. Yeah, no, I think it definitely will make them untouchable. And I mentioned on the day the fact that there are some, gender pay gap, ethnicity pay gap. So making sure that we hit people when they're very young, to get them to do the salary negotiations, to get them to start saving and investing as soon as they possibly can. It all helps. It all helps. It gets rid of that pensions pay gap that we see, and which is particularly pronounced for Black women, Asian women as well, which are some of the statistics that we saw in the Scottish Widows Women in Retirement report. So yeah,
Selina,
thank you.
I also wanted to say thank you to you, because you're really impacting lives. You started this, I don't know, about 5 years ago, and the impact that you're having now is awesome. And as I said, this is, for me, it's just the beginning. You had a vision and you stayed committed to that vision, and because you stayed committed to that vision, you're impacting lives, and the numbers are huge. So Selina, thank you so much for staying committed to your vision.
Oh, thank you so, so much, Stephanie. Yeah, just to say, we had over 100 women join us for the day. I should say that. I should have said that at the beginning, which is not a small number. And they will go on and share the information with other women. And hopefully next year they will bring along other women. I know that I definitely had people saying, I'm going to bring my sister, I'm going to bring my daughter next year. I'm going to bring, a lot of people along, which will be fantastic. And thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to transform lives through Black Girl Finance. And so thank you for saying that, Stephanie.
Yeah, I just want to second everything that everyone else said. And also just want to mention your book. Your book is one of the best Christmas presents that I give everyone. My family are so used to me just giving them, and it's your particular book because your background it just relates to a lot of Black women, and it's just a really, really good book. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Yuleen. I didn't even mention the book. I didn't sell the book on the day. I think last year we had books for sale. This year we didn't do that. But yeah, thank you so much for mentioning the book as well. And I'm glad it's been useful. I'm glad it's a great Christmas present as well, which is good. Thank you so, so much, ladies, for joining me today. And yeah, we'll see you next time on the Black Girl Finance podcast.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast today. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming to Black Girl Finance Festival as well. And the first question to you is, what do you think about the day?
Well, thank you for having me, Selina. I thought the day was absolutely phenomenal. I really had an amazing time. What I loved about it in particular as well is the caliber of people that were there. The women that were there were really warm and welcoming. I was sitting next to a young lady who I've never met before, and we just really got on and got talking. And everybody that I encountered on the day was just really, really warm and welcoming. And what was lovely as well is, women, we always talk in the toilets. There was interactions even in the bathroom where women were like, this was the best event ever. Oh my God. And I was like, part of me was thinking, this could have been a whole podcast in the bathroom in itself, because such positivity in the bathroom where women were just really inspired, motivated. A lot of, what I also loved about it was, as much as, yes, it probably it kind of catered for a certain kind of age group, but there was it was really rich to see a couple of mature ladies that were saying that they were able to kind of share their questions, but equally be able to say, and hands on heart, be like, you know what, I really wish I knew this sooner. And I actually had
Yeah.
a conversation with those two senior ladies and saying, you know, I'm at retirement age now. What can I do? I really wish that this is something that was taught to me. And we were actually having a conversation and say, no, it's not wasted, because you can pass
Yeah.
this on to your grandchildren, your children. You know, you can leave, you can open up trust. There's different things you can speak to people that can advise you. So there was something for everybody. And my daughter, who's 19, I was definitely like, you know what, she should have been here. I was texting her while I was there. I said, oh my gosh, you should have been here. She goes, Mum,
Yeah.
you always say that when you go to an event.
Too late, mummy. Bring me. Yeah. Oh, and it's incredible. Yes, there was a like a wide variety of kind of ages there. Some people very young, some people a bit, like you say, a bit more mature, a bit more older. And I think we were able to create space for them because, like you said, you know, they were able to ask questions as well.
Yes.
You know, no one was excluded. And I just really like what you said about being in the bathroom, because often you associate, you know, that bathroom conversation with when you're out on a night out and clubbing.
Yeah.
But the fact that we
Yeah.
managed to get that environment on at Black Girl Finance Festival on like a finance talk or conference almost is fantastic.
Really was. It wasn't like, oh, can I borrow your brush? It was like,
Yes.
it was a whole different conversation. It was really nice because there was even one in the toilet talking and joining in. It was like a whole vibe, you know. It was really
Fab.
lovely.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Were there any specific speakers that stood out for you, and why?
Do you know what I really enjoyed was the two couple,
Okay.
Nathan and his wife, who
Yeah.
spoke so eloquently and vulnerably about their personal experience. Because I'll be honest with you, you know, us as a culture, we're quite private and we
Yes.
don't always share certain things. And to hear them break down stuff around what they've been through, how they navigated it, being down to that. And I love the way they started it, two of them holding that £5 note and being able
Yeah.
to just really bring us into a story that was so, you know, it really kind of hit a lot of people, because not many people are going to say that, oh, they've had bailiff come to their house or they've
Yeah.
had all of these things happening, and they're talking it in a way where they're talking it to their own people as well, without kind of thinking, what are they going to think about me, and the
Yes.
judgment. But the way that they shared that, it really made, I suppose for me, make me realize that, do you know what? In everything that we're going through, especially from a finance perspective, everybody's got their own experiences, and the way that they were able to, like I said, articulate themselves and share their story, I thought that was really, really inspiring, and I really took a lot from it. And knowing that this is a two-parent household, married couple that were
Yeah.
able to really bring that to the forefront and share, I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what some of the other ladies have said. Their talk, their transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unrivaled. Them standing there with the £5 note to illustrate this is what we had, and
Yeah.
then their journey
It was
around,
amazing.
yeah, and how they have their meetings, their Friday finance meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they managed to kind of get themselves out of a situation from, you know, most people would have hit rock bottom, and that could have just really just fragmented the relationship. You know, not many, like, how many women would be like, this man can't provide for, do you know what I mean? Let's keep it
Yeah.
real. There's a lot of people that would have left that relationship just because of, you know, it being that serious. And I think it's a credit to them to be able to say, here we are still standing now,
Yeah.
this knowledge on. And also what also stood out for me was the lady from Black Widow who,
Oh, Scottish Widows, yeah. Was it Rose?
sorry,
Yeah.
Hemi Widow, correction, who when she was talking about her parents,
Yes.
and the way that, you know, she has access to so much information that is extremely needed and relevant, and, you know, how they've kind of put their mum in the home, and what's going on with their dad, and being able to kind of really navigate that process and manage it. It was really eye-opening. It's made me think that actually there's some conversations that I need to have with my parents
Yes.
and my
Yeah.
siblings. I love the way that she said, you know, her siblings and her sat down, and obviously she's coming from a background where she understands a lot of things, but these are conversations that can avoid so much conflict down the line. And it was really, you know, enlightening to hear just how, as a family, they've managed to manage all of that.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I think if you can agree all in as a family, like you said,
Now,
it avoids so much conflict a bit further down the line.
yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely agree with what she was saying 100% and your thoughts around her talk.
Yeah.
Were there any after the the event, was there anything that you thought to yourself, I'm going to go away and actually do and implement?
Yes, definitely. It was definitely that trading app.
Okay.
Because some of the things that you hear, they can sound super complicated and like, you know, you can have your notebook and you can write things down, and to take the steps and the actions, some of these conferences that you attend, let's keep it real, those notebooks kind of sit somewhere in the house on the shelf, and
Yeah.
you use them for something different. But there were some real tangibles that were not too hard to do, and you can sit down, you know, of an evening, instead of kind of being distracted on either your social media or listening to, you can pause and say, right, I can intentionally take some time to download this app, look at what, and the great thing about all of that is, I mean, the access that you've also provided for all of us through the Black Girl Finance platform, and also the budgeting and I mean, I've become a lot more diligent with managing my finances and doing the things. The stocks and shares ISA, I've opened that already for my son. There's things that I've been able to implement and action that it wasn't hard, you know, even.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you don't mind me sharing, you kind of taking me on my own investment journey by, you know, kind of setting me up and starting me up on that has enabled me to actually say, right, I don't understand all of it right now. I'm not going to play like I do, but the process and the journey has begun. So it's for me now to take the time to do the learning and ask the questions. And what's beautiful about it is that you've got access to people that you can ask the questions to.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy that you're on the journey and you've started a journey for your son as well. I think there was a lot of talk around, taking the knowledge away for ourselves, but how can we then use it to impact, the next generation, building that. We talk a lot in the community about creating that generational wealth.
Yes.
It starts with us. I think that was the kind of one of the key messages. It starts with us. It starts with us not just coming to these events and, taking all the information and not actually implementing things, but actually implementing these things for ourselves. And then we can go on, once we feel confident and comfortable implementing it for ourselves, we can then, encourage our, if we've got younger children, we can implement for them. And then we can also encourage, maybe our older children or older people within our family to implement these things for themselves as well. I think it's had me being on this kind of creating the platform has had that domino effect where as a family we're all able to talk about finances, and we're all able to talk about, okay, what have you got in place, what should I mean, I'm a grand auntie, and I know that my nephew, my grand nephew has got investments and he's free which is something that I never had growing up. So
absolutely. And this is it, isn't it? It's like we would be ignorant to not do something now, because I think the generation before us only did and was, which was they were able to with the tools that they had. And we now, as a new generation that has access to information at our fingertips, let's keep it real. We're able to do something really different. And I do think that there is a lot of kind of mindset shift that needs to take place with the older generation. And I even think about the approach when I'm going to be speaking to my mum, who's now retired, who's now currently on a cruise with her girlies, having the best time of their life. However, there are things that I would love to be able to open up this conversation to say, Mum, like, we need to sit down and break this down. And equally with my own children, just looking at, because even with my son, this contactless generation that has own debit card, sometimes he's like, where's all my money gone? Because when you're tapping, son, it doesn't just, recuperate itself. It has to,
doesn't regenerate. Yeah.
it's not going to just regenerate. It doesn't, you're taking out. You've got to understand. So I think there needs to be some real practical stuff that we need to do. But the responsibility, as you said, is on us, because we do have the knowledge. And even if, like I said, we don't know it all, we've got individuals like yourself who are really championing this cause and empowering and equipping us to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so, so much for sharing your thoughts about Black Girl Finance Festival. It's a real honor for me to be able to host the festival each year, bringing over 100 women together to talk about money and finance in a fun and engaging way, in a way that will encourage them to take action and hopefully transform their lives, transform their financial lives. Because one of the things we do is we have the event on International Women's Day and Women's History Month.
Yes.
Because we want to celebrate us during these pivotal moments. And that is against the backdrop of, the gender and ethnicity pay gaps that exist, the pensions gap that exists, which is, often exacerbated for, Black women and Asian women as well, in comparison to white women in the UK.
Yeah.
The Scottish Widows Women and Retirement Report has lots of data and information around some of the issues. I think one of the highlights this year was the fact that, Black women and Asian women are more likely to have multiple jobs, but then at the same time, they're less likely to hit that auto-enrollment pensions threshold.
Wow.
So, working harder, but not reaping the benefits of, preparing for the financial future.
Yeah.
They tend to have more worries around, their readiness for retirement, and more worried about running out of money. So this is the backdrop against why we do the actual event, because there are some real issues that we're trying to tackle through everything that we do at Black Girl Finance, and the festival is part of that, bringing these statistics to life and coming up with solutions as well. So.
And that speaks volumes when you think about it, because if you didn't kind of champion this cause and amplify and be advocating in this space, not many of us would know that. Because I think, sad to say, it's been conditioned that it's okay to kind of really continue on that rat race and have 3-4 jobs, running around trying to do all of this, manage a household, do all of that. And when you're thinking to yourself, actually, how much more better off are you for doing all of this? And when you're able to kind of puts a lot in perspective when you're able to explain it like that. So it's very needed, and it's important, because I think a lot of the time we're not future planning. I don't know why, but I think it's important now that we recognize that we want to have, everybody has a desire to have a quality of life. And I believe that, that quality of life, as much as for some strange reason, we don't talk about money and we don't talk about finance, which is bizarre, because in order to have a quality of life, it has to have
the money. Yeah. You have to plan for it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to kind of plan and prepare for it. So being able to have these conversations that are not ordinarily had, and often had because it's a taboo, or it's a kind of uncomfortable, or I don't know what it is. I'd love to kind of, really break that down and unpack it. It would be, like I said, quite ignorant of us not to begin to think, actually, without a plan, we have nowhere to go. Because we will either be reliant on, the system and the government, which a lot of people have seen that the system isn't as reliable now, because they will give and they will take it back. And as you can see with a lot of things within, if you're looking at the welfare system, the welfare reform, and a lot of things that hasn't actually worked for people, it's important that you take control and take ownership. And it's a way that, if everybody wants to have that autonomy over self and their finances, these are things that have to be fundamentally a priority and a top priority for us all. So, Selina, I thank you. Black Girl Finance is just like, if ever we've needed it, like, this should have been something that I was learning in school. There should have been a curriculum, should have been a program, even if it was an after-school program or an extracurricular program, or even something that you can choose on your options. These are things that when we think about, you know, what do we need in life? A lot of us are learning from the mistakes, the financial mistakes that we've made, or the things that we thought were a good choice, but weren't, just because we didn't have the knowledge and understanding. But imagine if we had this, you know, mandate from early, a lot of the pitfalls could have been avoided. So I see this going so far and wide that, you know, even for yourself, you can become a lecturer in this space to be able to kind of really equip, especially our young females and the younger generation, to kind of lift them out of, I don't want to say poverty, but just lift them up so that opportunities and whatever it is that they want in life, they can feel that they too can achieve. They too have the option to purchase that penthouse, or to drive that car, or to own multiple properties, or to even buy a yacht or a plane, whatever it is, you know, totally outside of this box. Because why not? You know, my son has friends whose parents own boats, you know, in the south of France, and live hold really differently. They don't look like us, but I know people that live like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much, Fiona. I just love everything that you just said just then. And yeah, we have the capacity to dream big, so why not? You know, why should we be restricted and
limit ourselves? Absolutely. Yeah, it's a mindset as well, Selina. It's a mindset. It's a, you know, you do need to have people around to help. This is stuff that needs to be taught and understood as well. And I think sometimes we are scared of the unknown. A lot of people are. You know, we're quite risk averse when it comes to certain things. And you know,
if you're the first in your family, you know,
exactly.
A lot of times I go into organizations where, you know, people are the first, second generation.
And even the trust factor, I think that also came up in the conference, you know, like,
it's
we're a funny set of people, you know. So, you know, when you're unpacking a community that you come from and you understand, there are nuances that you get to realize actually.
We can talk about this forever, but thank you so much, Fiona, for all of your thoughts and insights about Black Girl Finance Festival. We're doing it again next year. Make sure you come along. It was a really great day, and as you've heard from our attendees, you know, it has a real impact. It makes tangible change in their lives. So yeah, don't miss out next year.
Well done, you. Congratulations on a fantastic event. I'm looking forward to next year, and I'm bringing my family. I'm bringing everybody along to say, listen, even down to my mum. I'm going to try and get my mum. I know she's away at this time this year, but I'm going to be making sure that mum comes along and say, Mum, I'm taking you somewhere. Come on, let's sit down and listen.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks once again.